We have a story speaking about a outlet that's been, in the business for a very long time called the Kansas City Star. Now, they recently came out and apologized for what they call decades of robbing an entire community of opportunity, dignity, justice, and recognition. Now, they said the Kansas City Star was one of the most influential news sources in the region and says it disenfranchised, ignored, and scored generations of black Kansas Cityans. They say for the last 140 years, they say it reinforced Jim Crow laws and redlining. They said wrote Mike Fannin, the president and editor of the Star, in the column apologizing for the coverage by the paper on Sunday. They said decade after early decade, they said it robbed an entire community. They said of opportunity, dignity, justice, and recognition. They said they apologizing for all their actions and has published, it said, the first part of a 6-part package examining their history. So before I continue with this, we have to understand that the media, particularly the white-owned media, whether it's TV, whether it's newspaper, whether it's magazine, whatever it is, Hollywood, music, whatever it is about media, because that encompasses a lot. It has been weaponized and propagandized against the black man and black woman of America. You understand? The reason why people in other countries could assume that, all black Americans, all of us are rappers, all of us dance a certain way, we are boys in the hood, or whatever the stereotypes other people have of us in other countries that never met a black American at all, is due to this white supremacist propaganda against black people. And at that time period, yes, we had, brothers and sisters out there with their own media outlets, people like Ida B. Wells that was covering all the lynchings. And that, even to this day, is still not really covered like that. That's why anytime I hear about a lynching, I'm covering it, because, we cannot allow that to continue. And you have to have media attention, and we have to show the world who these white supremacists really are. Okay. We cannot allow, the world to believe there's something that they're not, because that could mean life or death for whoever it is and maybe coming over here. And also we uncovering, and also throughout the world, pulling off the veil and people really seeing who the devil really is. They seeing it now. And we get emails all the time from people throughout the world saying, I thought one way and I didn't realize that. And I used to think this way about black Americans, but I didn't know how I was being lied to. So understand, black media is having an effect worldwide. So this is why, we want to make sure to always reach out, to people throughout the world, let them know the truth of what's going on, not lies, the truth. But the media has also been used as a tool of war all the time. Before America goes to war, they have a war of propaganda. You go back to the Iraq war, right? Before America invaded, every day on the media, war of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction. They want to do war. Oh, look what they're doing to their own people. It starts off with propaganda first, then military invasion. You understand? So propaganda is a tool of war. This is why they always do it against us, because they are always at war with black people. So this is why having black media and pushing back against their tools is a very important thing. This is why you look at my Twitter. I have up there general in the propaganda war, because if you are running your own media house, then you are a general in the propaganda war. You understand? You either be a general in the propaganda war, or you're going to go along with white supremacist propaganda against black people. That's just really the only choices you have. There's no middle ground on that, no matter what you're covering. You understand? Whether it's in news like this, very serious news, even if you're doing entertainment news, it's a certain way to cover that where you're not going along with what they're saying, right? But continuing. So they said reporters were frequently sickened by what they found: decades of coverage that depicted black Kansas Cityans as criminals living in a crime-laden world, which they created that environment of crime I always tell people that. Do not let people look at black Americans and say, all y'all do is commit crimes. Listen, it don't take much to go back in time and look at, starting with the civil rights movement and back, how black people wasn't committing no crimes. They were not there having no quote unquote gangs, harming each other, dealing drugs. That was never anything happening with us. They the one shipped in all those drugs and put that mess in the black communities starting in the 1970s. Because in the 60s, that's when the brothers and sisters was, they gave them that major L with the civil rights movement, and they was with that. So they said, let's break up these black families. Let's start by imprisoning these black men, because if we can get these black men in jail, then we could really break apart the black families. So they start flooding all the black communities with drugs. They're bringing all this mess in from Colombia and all other places, because black folks didn't have no planes. Black folks didn't have no speed boats and all kind of other things they did to bring drugs into the black communities. You understand? And this is where the problem started, when they had no jobs, and all the jobs were shipped away to China. That's when they started really shipping jobs away to China and closing all these factories that a lot of brothers used to work at. And then they start pushing, the war on drugs, which later they admitted was a war on black people with the Nixon administration. So that was all the plan. You're talking about Joe Biden's crime bill. He didn't start the war on drugs. They went way back to Nixon, but that crime bill was just a continuation of policies to mass incarcerate black men in particular. Because listen, if it was about crime, why isn't all these mzungus mass incarcerated right now with these opioids? Why aren't they? A place like Oregon just went ahead and just say, what we do, go ahead and decriminalize drugs so they don't go to jail, so they're not caught up on Joe Biden's crime bill. That's how they do it. But when it came to black folk, all our families got broken apart, and suffering. Thank God we don't have the problems we had back then. And now, we have a greater state of consciousness. But understand that media outlets was used every night to weaponize and call black people crackheads and label black people as drug addicts. This was done by the media, not just this Kansas City Star. They just being called out and getting admitted to it. It was all of them. From your CNNs to your ABCs, all of them did this. So they claim they felt shame at what was missing, achievements, aspirations, and milestones of the entire population routinely overlooked, as if black people were invisible. Now they say, moving forward, the Star says it's encouraging other Kansas City businesses to examine their own histories, as well as also announced the formation of the Kansas City Star Advisory Board to help guide coverage in the future. They say a positive step by the Kansas City Star. They say was more needed, according to the mayor, Quentin Lucas, on Twitter. They say in response to the apology of the newspaper, said, "Nice, I hope my friends in the local TV business do the same." Yes, because you can't just say it's the Kansas City Star. It's the whole system. Understand? The whole system have an anti-black propaganda status. Just call it what it is. Now they say, of course, this move came after, deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. It led months of protest. It's against systemic racism. And when you say systemic racism, it's not just a term, ladies and gentlemen. The whole system is racist. So media is one of the pillars that, Neely Fuller would talk about in the 9 areas of activity. Media is one of them. Every aspect of things these people control, all of it is anti-black. You show me the area in this country that has no anti-black, none. Like everything is equal. Black people are treated the same. Black people can have their natural hair, like me, grow into the heavens. You can have your natural hair, okay, and you're not being ridiculed. You're not being looking down upon. You can just be you. You're not told you're being, don't you think you're being that kind of little too black? And how do you be too black? How? I don't know how to do that. I'm just being me, right? So every area in this country. And so when you hear systemic racism, basically saying that every part of this country is racist to the core. And when they say, well, how we show me that, I say, well, show me how it's not. You tell me how it's not. Since you said that what I'm saying isn't true, you show me how it's not. Just show me. And they know they can't show you. They cannot show you. Because they haven't even made not even one headway to make things. Look at TV. For example, let's talk about quote unquote white media, right? Click on any channel. Don't matter what channel you click on. Local media, left-wing media, right-wing media. If you look at the media in the United States of America, you would think no black people live here. You may have one black person, maybe two have a show, but even locally, unless you're in a city that's predominantly like a lot of black folks, and even if you have that, you always see somebody mzungu on TV. Look at even quote unquote CNN who champion all this. Oh, we're not racist people. We promote this. They don't have many black anchors at all. They got shows. All of them are mzungu. Let's call it what it is. We ain't not even talk about Fox News and all them other ones. I mean, we expect that with them. But you would think they don't have black folks like that in this country. So you can start right there. You look at the movies. You would think black folks aren't hardly here. And then if black folks get a role into something, my God, these mzungus lose their mind if they see too many black people on TV. Oh, they're taking over and all this, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't take much to see that. Like in a week, like look at commercials on TV. Look at how many black people you will see in a week. We are literally conditioned to be looking at mzungus all day long. When we have been in this country for hundreds of years, we should be on TV just as much as they should be on TV and everything else. Now, thank God, for me, I'm not begging, because I'm not the diversity and inclusion guy. I don't believe in that. I believe in control and ownership. But I'm just telling you how they don't, want us like that. And they have a propagandist, anti-black propaganda way they do things. You understand? So that's why it's going to take black media to stand against the lies and the evil of the propaganda they promote. And at the same time, it's going to take community support to keep these platforms going. Now, we're coming up around the first of the year, and we're going to start, speaking out a little bit more, first of the year, kind of like no different like an NPR would do, to promote people starting to support the show in many ways. For instance, when we get to that part, we'll talk about that next month. But, supporting the show possibly on Patreon. Some people join us there. On Patreon, you can watch videos first. We'll ask you different opinions about changes with the show. You'll know about that first, right? And people have been involved with changes, with logos here, decisions on people who we brought in. On Patreon, they have been, made of that. Now, YouTube channel memberships, same thing. We ask the same questions, nothing different on that. We also, want to start pushing and promoting our website, AfricanDiasporaNews.org, where you can get the uncensored reports that we make. Okay, we have to have uncensored reports, and that's very important because see on here we're limited on what we can say. Understand? Because this isn't black control. Understand? Now, YouTube is a very powerful medium. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, YouTube could say we don't want you talking about vaccines. YouTube could say we don't want you talking about pedophiles. YouTube could say we don't want you going too hard in the paint. I mean, really, really hard in the paint about black empowerment. We can't get mad and say, oh, they're censoring me. They can do that. That's theirs. We got to be about control and ownership. So this is why behind the scenes, I have been working to establish our website. And the reason why our website is a pay site is because, once again, we took that model to not be controlled, because if you go for advertisers now, you got to go on what they say. They control your mouth. You understand? We want to have a place where the website can be funded, because it costs money, of course, to pay. And one thing that I even made sure to do to make sure that censorship couldn't be an issue for our site, I made sure that our hosting was not even in this country. Because even if you had your own site, what I had realized by research is that people will still go to your domain like GoDaddy and all these different ones and still get even your own website shut down. So once I paid attention to that, I said, okay, let me find a place in which I have where I can host my stuff and I don't have to worry about that. Who don't even have those, they don't deal with that, right? So that's what we chose to do, so we can keep going. Understand? So, with that being said, we're going to start pushing that more and more in January. And my message is going to be continuing. Black control and ownership, not diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion, I know some of your brothers and sisters, you may be working in that And I'm not against you for working in it. I think when it comes to quote unquote diversity and inclusion, I believe more so that needs to be something in politics. In other words, like you need more black folks here because we need those resources, and we need to, anything with government policy, I believe that should be more of a push. When it comes to these corporations, I'm more so about us creating our own. I'm loving to see more and more black people creating more media houses. I'm seeing more and more brothers taken away from the Vlad TVs and creating their own platforms. Why do you think I created our entertainment news platform? Some of you may go over there from this channel who like this kind of content and say, oh, why is he talking about that? Why is he talking? Because if I don't talk about it in my own way, then it leaves the gate wide open for the mzungus to come in, create a platform, and now they are capitalizing and putting out their propaganda about our people, whether they rappers, ball players, whatever. Black entertainment is a huge, market, whether you agree with that or not. If anybody should control black entertainment, it should be black people, period, right? No matter what it is, we need to control our own creations and our own intellectual property as black people. And we have to create the platforms to do so. All of us need to do that. It's not just me. It needs to be all of you who can get your foot out there. Because if we create all the platforms and we are consuming our own news, whether it's news, entertainment, sports, on weather reports, if you like business, which, business is very hard because a certain crowd wants to hear that in the black community. And we really got to change that, because yes, me informing you about a story about police brutality or racism, that's real. But you guys need to learn also how to make some money. And there's certain things that I know in business and other brothers and sisters know in business who are actually making money and not begging these mzungus where you need diversity and inclusion to get a freaking job. These brothers and sisters are about controlling and ownership. You understand? When they ain't got to look at no mzungu in the face and deal with his racism. Even in this age of the pandemic, a lot of black folks have learned to create jobs of themselves and making that money. So we also got to get out of shunning business content, because even when we have interviewed people that gave some game about business, you guys, and I'm not saying I don't know who, but we look at the viewership, and the viewership is always low on that. I mean, some great information. But let me talk about Karen, or let me talk about some racism or something, and boom, that's what you want to watch and consume. Or we talk about something Future's doing. He got another female pregnant, just for example. He's a serial impregnator, right? He got another female pregnant. You'll consume that. But when it comes to, how do we, do, stock trading, or how do we, the steps to home ownership, or how can we save money on taxes in business, or how do we actually create certain businesses, right? It's a minority of us that want to consume that content. And in the opposition as black people, it should be the majority of us want to consume that content, because we don't want to deal with this mzungu. We cannot complain about the mzungu all day long and still go work for them. We got to get this information so we can create our own and own our own companies that we control. Same thing about the schools. We could talk about how racist they are in public school, but if we're not out here creating our own schools and learning how to do that, and with this pandemic, it has shown you that our kids now are socialized for homeschool, which before they wasn't. So now you can create online curriculum, market it right, present it right, let people know how it is. These kids could be on Zoom or whatever you want to use and be in school with our people teaching. You don't have to have a physical building anymore now. You don't have to, because that's usually hold people back. Oh, I don't have a physical building. But it don't cost you much to have a Zoom account. Even if you have a paid Zoom account. You understand? It's ways now to educate our children. So let's be about control and ownership, and community support has to do it. This is why our motto always been community support. Even we had a particular meeting with YouTube. They said, oh, so your motto is community support? Like, yes. Because we knew that we're not going to get no deals like that. No, not the way we talk. So we got to control and own everything, because when it comes to them Kansas City Star, and all of them. They have an anti-black sentiment and how they report everything. And that's to be expected. You understand? So make sure you do support, black media, not just only by watching, and that's great, but support it. Even if it's like $2 a month, $5 a month. Like I said, if multiple people support, shoot, there's nothing we can't do. And like I said, what we have been doing here in this platform, and because a lot of you are supporting us, we have been bringing people in, and we have been people that's helping us now. Well, like I said, nothing's free 99 that no one is doing here, and we're not going to allow it. But with the support you have been giving us, we can bring other people in, and we want to bring more people in, right? To help us make the show better. But it's going to take community support. And so we're going to push more of that in January for sure, to get everything back to, the levels. We're doing great, but we want to push it a lot more. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the situation with the Kansas City Star and also the importance of black media. Because trust me, the mzungu owned media is a tool of propaganda against us. And the only way you're going to have any kind of way to fight back is black media platform.